Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of. Hold on.
That's gonna stay in.
Just keep going.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Four Dead Losers podcast. We are the Four Dead Losers. I'm Ramito.
Adam. Justin.
And Amanda.
And today we're going to be talking about Late Night with the Devil. Ooh, how exciting. So a quick synopsis of the movie. We follow a late night TV show where the ratings are kind of taking a dip a little bit. And so for their Halloween special, they invite all of these various guests.
Spooky guests.
Yeah, spooky guests. Ooh. So
Halloween
we have
special.
So we have a psychic, a skeptic, and then somebody who claims to have some sort of demon inside of them. The story is basically that. We kind of see everything unfold in the show, live as it all happens. Non-spoiler thoughts, what did y'all think?
I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, that was probably my favorite movie of the year so far when it comes to horror. I don't think anything has come close to touching it. I know we just did Immaculate in the recent episode. We've obviously seen some others. I know some of y'all have seen some
What
of
else
this.
has come out?
Blood and Honey 2.
Blood
first
and Honey 2. Some of y'all saw The First Omen. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at another point. But I just thought that this movie had everything that I enjoy about horror movies, and it did it in a way that was I wouldn't say different, but like it was fresh. Like it's not your major mainstream horror movie. It has some B feels to it at times, but because of the acting, because of like the direction of things that they did, I just thought it was a really well done movie.
Mm-hmm. What would you rate it?
I would say for me, I definitely gave it a solid 9 out of 10.
Damn.
Yeah, I thought it was really good outside of maybe the ending, which I know some people are not big fans of. I really enjoyed the movie.
Justin, you picked this movie?
I did pick this movie.
What were your thoughts?
It was good. It was, again, like he said, it was really, I wouldn't say like it's super different, but like the fact that I've never seen a movie kind of like emulate a late night talk show, and especially doing it in a horror sense, I thought was really cool. I did enjoy it myself. The story was really good. I did like the story a lot too. There were some things that I didn't like about it, but I guess we'll talk about it later. Overall, I think I would give it like a 7.
Like a 7 out of 10?
Like a 7 out of 10. What did I give Immaculate? Like a 6? It was better than Immaculate.
I think so.
It was better than Immaculate.
It was better than Immaculate.
So I give it like a 7. Maybe it's a 7.5 out of 10.
So I actually gave this movie a 10 out of 10.
Damn!
Hey,
I-
perfect.
Good.
Yeah, I really, really liked this movie. It just, I don't know, it was really good. I just liked the direction they went with it. I liked that it was like a found footage kind of movie, but it wasn't the handheld camera, right? So it was easier to watch. I enjoyed that.
That's true.
And any parts that I felt like were a little like cheesy or like not done very well, I gave them grace for, because I later found out it was like a movie that had to go through film festivals. So I was like,
It's an
okay,
indie movie.
yeah. So I was like, you didn't have the budget to do like the most outrageous things ever. So that's why I was like, you know what, it is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I really liked it.
I thought it was really good too. The story was, like I said, pretty simple. In the non-spoiler synopsis, we'll get into it in a little bit here, but I thought like from beginning to end, I was pretty much entertained. Like there's a certain point in the movie where like things kind of go off the rail a little bit, and from there, like they had no problem keeping my attention. So personally, they kind of spoke the same thing that I was thinking. And I'd probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Like it was up there. It was really good. I did like the fresh feel of it, right? We didn't have like the, you can tell in this movie that we didn't have the like pressure from like big corporate movie producers, right?
I felt like they were able to do what they wanted.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah. Like they were able to really take the movie in whatever direction that they wanted to, and they really you could tell they were passionate about the direction that they were going in. I thought it was really good.
That's true.
So with that being said, watch the movie.
Yeah.
And then
No,
come back.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're about to get into the spoilers. The four of us here think it's a really good movie, so if you don't want the movie spoiled, go ahead and go watch it, and you can come back later. So this is your spoiler warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So the movie basically starts off with this like 7-minute long lore dump.
Everybody dies.
It was good. So like that part I felt like was a little bit too long. The lore
It was a
dump.
little. I mean, it was cool.
You thought the Lord
I
was
mean-
long. All the studios in the beginning
Yeah,
were long.
that's
like,
kind of true.
the people in the theater started laughing
Oh,
because of
'cause how
the
many-
black, and then another one.
Oh
would come
yeah, how
up.
many studios did? I actually, you know, I had that thought too. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was like, you know, there's a lot of people that have a hand in this movie that had to have their own little like setup. I was like, okay. But you know, I wasn't too upset with the lore dump. At first, I kind of was, but I was thinking like, what is this any different than a Star Wars movie? Like literally just running, like, okay, we're just gonna give you this whole entire like introduction synopsis of what's about to like potentially unfold, and it's just like, I mean, it's the same thing, but they're trying to use like actual words and scenes and not
That's
just
true.
like throw out like text, you know. So
Yeah. It's about 5 minutes longer than a
Yeah.
Star Wars scroll, but yeah.
I mean,
So
That was cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
So there's really 3 major things that happen in the first like lore dump of the movie. The first one is we get introduced to our main character Jack, and we find out
What's his
that
last name?
Delroy.
There we
Delroy,
go.
yeah.
I knew it was like a last name.
I knew it was a last name.
Like a last name.
Like any other last name?
No, like a talk show last name. There we go. Damn it.
so we get introduced to Jack Delroy, who's the host of our show. I think it's called Night Owls.
Yeah.
So basically, the first thing that we learn is that he's part of this super secret club, right? Think of Freemasons type of thing.
Is he? I
Yeah,
don't think I
like a
caught
cult.
it.
They're literally like in the trees and like
Yeah, this is in the beginning though?
Yeah.
Yes.
It even shows
Did you
like
show
some
a plate
clips of
again?
like
No, I
blood
didn't.
hunting
I
an
did.
owl. Like there's a clip.
Oh,
of
yeah,
an
yeah,
owl.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like Blood Hunting 1. He
I think
made us
it's-
miss the entire lore dump at the
I
beginning.
think
He
I
had no
just like
clue what was happening.
skimmed past it.
How do you skim past it? That's a
I like
movie.
zoned out like in the
You just zoned out
That was
the
a
entire
second.
lore dump.
No.
What do you mean a second? It was 7 minutes. It was 7-minute lore dump.
That part I did. There's like bad ratings and I'm okay. And then I'm waiting for it to start. So no, I didn't catch that.
So the first thing is Jack Delroy is part of the super secret club. They meet in the forest, and from there we don't know what they do. The second thing we learn is that his wife Madeline, unfortunately had passed away of cancer, and Jack Delroy had stepped away from the show for I think like 2 months or something like that. And when he comes back, this is where we learn. Our third thing is that he never quite gets his ratings back to where they were, right? So the show already was at a little bit of a decline, but his absence basically like shot it in the foot, right? And so after towards the end of the giant lore dump, this is where we get like, oh, it's a special Halloween episode kind of thing. And we learn 2 more things from here. Just basically the perspective of the movie. We get to see that we will see what people would have seen
On the
if
show,
they were
watching the show, and then backstage footage as well.
Yeah.
Like if we were the live audience.
And they pieced it together.
Yeah. And so like just so y'all are aware, every time they show the backstage footage, the
black and
screen
white.
is in black and white.
I like that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So you could like very easily tell the difference between what's going on, besides the fact that they're like, all right, let's cut to a break.
Yeah.
And then it goes black and white.
I like that it played that every time though for the breaks. It did
Oh, the
like a
little thingies?
ding, ding.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. I liked them.
And so basically the other thing we have to know is that it's 1977. That's kind of important because we have a little bit more of like the satanic panic starting to like creep in.
Oh yeah.
And that's why like a bunch of stuff are happening later on in the movie, which we'll get into.
That makes sense.
So the movie starts off basically like every other talk show, where the host comes out, he's introduced, yay, we get basically a view of the audience, it's a live studio audience, we get a view of the live band, and our co-host, I think.
Gus.
Gus, yeah, his name is Gus. I like Gus, I think
Gus
he's funny.
is cool.
Yeah.
He's a good like sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does really good at his job, like his whole co-host kind of thing. And he introduces Jack Delroy, who comes in and everyone's cheering, all that good stuff. And right away, just like every other talk show host, we have like a little bit of jokes, right?
Mhm.
Like string of jokes coming from
Yeah.
him. I'm sure if you were alive in 1977, you'd understand them.
Yeah.
I did not.
Mm.
There are some of them that are funny because he kind of pokes fun at Gus a little bit, right, every now and then. Towards the end of his string of jokes, we get basically like Jack opens up a little bit and he says that it's sweep weeks, which is basically like this episode will kind of determine whether the sponsors stay on the show, or not. So there's kind of a lot of pressure for this episode, or we can
take off,
right. So Jack basically says that there's a lot of pressure on the episode to, help everybody still have a good time at Night Owls or whatever the heck. So we get introduced into our first character, or our first guest, which is Chris Stew.
Chris Stew.
So he's basically a medium. And from the get-go, like as soon as this guy walks out of the backstage, I like fell in love with this character. I thought he was so good. I thought the actor was so good at what he did. So when they're introducing Chris Stew, he's like giving this whole spiel, right? Like, oh, it's All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
This is where all the spirits come out and they walk amongst the living and all these things. And I thought it was pretty funny. I think he also says that like his mind is like a radio.
Yeah,
right?
you can pick up like frequencies of the dead.
Yeah, that like him and Jack are talking, and I think Jack is like, "How do you like? Do you hear it all the time or something like
turn
that?"
Turn it off, right, like a radio.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was funny because right there, like immediately, I was like, "Oh, this guy's a fraud."
Yeah.
But
see, I didn't get that vibe, and so it was making me sad when the audience was trolling on him.
You thought he was for real?
Yeah,
that's what they do. What do you mean? That's like a
the
thing.
audience was like trolling on him, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get to later, and I was like, that's so mean.
She would have been one of the people. She's like, so I know someone. I know someone with that name.
So basically, Chris Stew, the reason why I love his character so much is because he is the exact
personification.
Yes. Personification of what psychics are in the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
frauds.
I was gonna say I don't particularly believe in what they do, but I mean if you do, that's cool. Like to each their own. So the first thing that Chris Stew does is he does like a reading, right, where he's like, there's somebody, like he starts.
That's like a thing though. Like people do that in the actual, like they call out to audiences and they'll like just throw out a name.
Yeah, because then he gets of the first name, but then it changes as people are. He's like, wait, no, it's not that, it's this one.
Yeah.
Wait, not that one, it's this one.
Yeah, and he ends up talking to this person in the audience, right?
He's like, it's me.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I know somebody with that name, and Chris is like, stand up. So he goes ahead, he stands up, and Chris is like, Chris Stew, is like all excited, right? Because somebody took the bait.
Yeah.
and they kind of go back and forth a little bit, and it turns out that Chris Stew is detecting this audience member's ex-wife, I think, right?
Yeah.
And
he like thinks she's dead, right? Like, he's like, oh, I'm sorry for her. She's like, she ran off.
yeah. He's like, she left me like 4 years ago for someone else, and I thought it was funny.
It was pretty good. So pretty much he just gets like, what's the word? Belittled, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's the part that made me sad. And then Jack goofs on that guy's costume right after
the guy next to him.
Yeah.
And I thought, so I wrote it down in my notes. The person that
I thought it was gonna like have a bigger plot.
I did too.
I thought it was gonna be like the devil or something.
Yeah,
because they zoomed in on him for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So the person they zoomed in on, they were wearing just like a skeleton costume. Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be like something big with him too.
I think Jack had said like, oh, you got that from the discount store or something along those lines, which I thought was funny. And so they start a second reading. And the second reading
is like more accurate, I guess.
Yeah.
That's with the two ladies, right?
Yeah. So with the second reading, he does the same shtick, right? Like he's like, oh, I'm getting a name that starts with the letter E.
And he kind of like pulls it off. Like it ends up being like their son, right?
Mm-hmm.
That passed away, and he kind of like leans into it and just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, so the name that he ends up fishing out of them is Edmund, and he's speaking to two women in the audience, just like Justin was saying, and it's the mom and the sister. Yeah, and so the mom is like, "Oh, please tell him XYZ," and then Chris Stew is like, "No need, he already knows."
Yeah, it's like a teary-eyed moment, right?
Yeah. And everybody in the audience is like buying it, and this is why exactly this is why I love it, because this is what sidekicks in real life do. Like they
swindle.
Do this. They do this, and there's videos too of like what they'll do in real life, and we kind of get a little bit of it later on in the episode, but
like how they figured it out.
Yeah, how they figured it out. So
you can say episode. I mean, it was an episode.
But you're right.
It is.
Well, we get a little bit more of it later on when we get introduced to Carr. But basically, we find out that so in real life, the sidekicks will also like have their audience members like fill out questionnaires and stuff like that, and so that's how they're able to like speak with their relatives or whatever the heck. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. But after this reading, the crowd goes wild. Everybody's like, "Oh, we love you," all these other things. And Chris Stew, he's going on tour, right? So like we get the feeling
plugging his name and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, they're plugging his name. I think they like show like a little bit of his tour dates. I think something like that. And the crowd goes wild, and they're starting to like get. Basically, his segment is ending.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that the show is starting to get to like a commercial break, and all of a sudden he gets like this brain pain.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Remember that?
Yeah.
It's like a brain blast, like Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah.
like he starts like.
Is that already when like his eye like goes up? He starts like calling like, what is it? A ring says like does anybody know
He's saying a nickname
because
later
It's
Minnie.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know Minnie?
And then you would think this is where I thought it was really good because they set it up perfectly, right? Like obviously even before like most people I think have known the psychic shtick of like how they do it, and so here he was very adamant like no, there's no other like alternative. It is this. Like that's the only time that he said that. I thought that plays in later into the movie, but that was super. Cool that they did that because it almost, in a sense, then really makes you think, is he really lying? I mean, obviously, yes, he definitely kind of cheats his way through the psychic stuff, but like when he has that moment, it almost makes you question, like, wait a minute, like, does he actually have it, or is this something that actually just like almost mocking him because he's portrayed a psychic and they're actually now forcing something into his psyche?
I think it's that. I think it's like how the devil plays tricks on people, like ironically. I think it's kind of like that sense, like, making him actually become like psychic.
And he was very adamant, like, no, it is Minnie, like, no, because they shouted, right, oh, is it this, like the crowd tried to play on it, it's like, no, like, he was very upset, like, no, it is this.
The ring too?
Yeah, so he's saying the name Minnie and a married man
with a ring.
With a ring. A single man with a ring, with a wedding ring. Something like that.
A non-married man with a wedding ring. Yeah, because so this isn't a spoiler because this is what I was thinking as we were watching it because
we're already in the spoiler section.
Oh, true, but we already know who our three guests are at this moment.
Yeah, they introduced them before.
In my head, it's like, okay, well, if Lily's the one that's possessed, I figured it was whatever that demon was possessing this guy.
What was his name?
Like I thought it was foreshadowing that.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by like you thought it was him playing a trick? Or
like because that's like a thing, like it's like a trope, I guess.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if it's a trope in real life or not, but that's a whole different topic for another day. But like in horror movies, like the demons and stuff, they'll play tricks like on people, like ironically, like based off of like that, like the whole psychic
to be thing. Like, oh, you're mocking me.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're trying to claim like you have powers that you really don't. Well, let me give you like these powers real quick, but make it real like painful for them and stuff, and torment them.
This is really quick. The demon's name is Abraxas.
There we go.
Yeah, because while he's saying all that, Drax like
that's right.
But yeah, so we get like his eyes rolling back, which I thought was like done really well.
I thought that was good.
Doesn't
That was a
like
really good.
don't the light bulbs like
Yeah, that was the
Yes.
other thing, is that we see like a power surge or something like that,
It's like a light, like you could see like
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I want to. Yeah, some of the effects are really kind of cheesy.
So
But-
isn't that when the glass breaks on the table, or is that not
no,
yet?
That's later.
That's later.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But that effect was really good. The eyes rolling. I don't know if that's just something that he can do or like if.
And I will say, I think this was also the first time, other than that too, where we do see some interference. The first little tiny bit of interference
like the
with,
static,
with
right?
the film, because that's
Yes.
something that gets brought up a lot by someone I'm sure you're about to bring up here in a second, which is Phil, the stagehand, that is constantly like trying to talk in between each of the break times, and trying to tell like both the producer and like Jack, like, hey, like there's interference and stuff going on, like, but it's live.
Did you hear
I
them
like
on the
that.
radios? They're like, I'm
Yeah.
not seeing anything on my end.
I thought that was
man.
really cool. That
Yeah,
was really,
so
really
they're
cool.
like saying that like there's things that everybody else can see that is on the show that are going through the video stuff, but not the people that are there live. Other than obviously some of the light stuff and things like that. But that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, because like the stage director or something right after that, he was like, that lighting effect was cool. Or,
Yeah,
like, that was
yeah.
good.
They were like,
it wasn't.
us.
Yeah, we didn't do anything.
Yeah. So just like they're saying, we get a little bit of behind the scenes. Like this is where it switches into the behind the scenes footage, and just like you're saying, Phil is like trying to figure out what's going on. He doesn't know what's happening. But Jack is also informed at this point that people backstage are getting freaked out by Christu, because like he's starting to feel like
Sick.
yeah, this is when he's starting to feel sick.
They put him. Well, they tell him to hang on. They tell him to hang on. They put him.
Oh,
back
yeah,
on the
'cause
show.
he
They're
asked him-
doing his makeup, and he's like, don't touch me. And his
Yeah.
nose is
Yeah, because
bleeding.
he wants to leave. He's like, no, I think I'm done. And then they're like, no, like we want you to stay.
Yeah.
We have our skeptic, like he's nice, like or not nice, but like
Well, they don't.
Well,
No, I think they kind of like. What is it? They don't tell him he's a skeptic. I think they just tell him to just like stay.
Because Jack is like,
'Cause he
this
doesn't-
guy's full of it or something, like, just ignore him. He says something like that.
Yeah,
like,
like,
don't pay
basically-
attention to his comments.
yeah. So
I
basically,
think that's after they introduce.
Yeah, no, because they don't let him know that. Because why would they let him know he's gonna be ridiculed? You know,
well, no, he said
Awesome.
there's this guy. Just don't let him rub you the wrong way, kind of
like
way.
that kind of thing. I
Yeah,
guess.
because Jack says that right before they come back to then introduce
Yeah.
him.
But
Okay.
he does look like he's sweating. He doesn't
Yeah.
look well at all.
He doesn't look well, yeah. And so we go back on air, and so we get color again in the footage, and just like you're saying, you can see Chris Stew, and he's like visually like
Bad.
Going
yeah,
through
like
it, yeah.
like I thought it was really good.
It was good. It was really
Yeah.
good. His acting was pretty well in that.
Um,
One thing that was really funny that I noticed though too is when he was doing his little act, he has like an accent, right? But he doesn't actually have that accent.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually have an accent. He has like a New York accent.
Yeah.
But when he like talks in his little psychic thing, he has like a Spanish accent.
Yeah.
I just thought that was
performance.
Yeah, I know. I just thought it was funny.
that's a good point. I didn't even
Yeah.
catch that.
I caught it a little bit, but I couldn't tell if I was just like leaning too much into it one way or another. I was
No,
just
he like fakes his accent, which I thought was like really funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so we go back onto air, and this is where we're introduced to our second guest, which is Carmichael. And Carmichael, they do his whole spiel. He does magic like he used to be.
He's an ex-magician.
Yeah.
It's like an illusionist. There we go.
Yeah.
Like a Chris Angel or like a
Mhm.
what is the other dude?
There's other ones.
It's like someone I don't know. Houdini. I don't know. Whoever.
But yeah, so he's an ex-illusionist turned
Skeptic.
he's skeptic, right? Oh, I mean
He disproves other people's like.
investigator.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, he becomes an investigator, like an investigator of the paranormal, right? He even
Debunk
makes it
normal.
For the checks.
Yeah.
for the checks.
checks.
Yeah, he makes a joke about your favorite people from The Conjuring.
Oh, yeah, and Lorraine
Oh,
Warren.
yeah, the dude, yeah.
He does.
Because they give him like a little, what is it, like, they're not showing his tour the way they gave little clips of Chris
Mhm.
Stew, but they show
Like
him
plugging
like
his
out in the
into-
field,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
His like show or whatever. He has a show, right, or something.
I don't remember.
It might be like YouTube videos,
Yeah.
whatever their version of that was. Because he had a camera,
Yeah,
that was at
yeah.
the Amityville Horror
An
House.
Amityville Horror House, right? And so he basically he gets put in the chair, right? So we get like they're basically now sitting kind of like where we are. There's like a chair or there's a table in between them, and I think there's 4 seats or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Chris Dew, Jack,
And
and Carmichael. I can't remember if there's a 4th seat or not, but it's not really important.
Yeah.
But Carmichael is basically like, "Oh, I don't believe you, XYZ," and like Chris is like, "Bro, stop
Yeah,
talking to me! Like I'm
exactly,
about
yeah.
to like something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
He looks like he's turtling, right? He's sweating. He's sweating in his
So Carmichael's basically like, hey, I have this check for $100,000, which like back in '77
It's
was
like
a
$1 million.
lot. Yeah, it was a lot different than it is today. But he's basically saying that he has a check for $100,000 for anyone who can verify like their paranormal claims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's essentially like egging on Chris Stew, right? And at this point, he's Carmichael is basically like pointing out the tricks, right?
That he would use,
that he
yeah, like
does, and he's calling him out in front of all these people. And Chris tries to like walk off the stage. Is he stopped by somebody?
I don't remember.
Isn't that when he goes to
yeah,
the door, right? Cause
he tries to get out. He can't get out yet.
Yeah.
And
But
then,
why didn't he just walk the other way?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He throws up
Yeah, he
a lot.
Vile.
Yeah, it's like vile.
black.
So from what I understand, when you throw up black, that's blood coming out. Like your stomach is
Yeah,
like
bile
full
is
of
like
it.
yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
That's a lot.
yeah, and
That's a lot.
he
Because it gets on everybody, right?
It gets on everybody. It gets on Carmichael, and Carmichael's like, "Hey, are you gonna pay for that jacket?" And they take Chris off stage after like he goes ahead and vomits, and we get the little like, "Oh, we'll be right back."
Yeah.
And they take him.
They thought that was a trick too, right?
Yeah. Carmichael's basically like, "Hey, that was a trick too," but Jack is like still. This is where we get Jack still hung up on that last reading because I think he tells. I don't remember who he tells. I think he tells Carmichael that it's either Carmichael.
I think he tells the audience because he's like that.
Yeah, he says it later on though when they come back on.
Yeah,
when they come back on. When they come back on, I think.
He tells somebody. I don't remember who it is, but he tells somebody like, "Hey, that last reading was about me." Because Minnie is what I call.
That was at the end. That was way at the end.
Yeah.
Really?
Way far.
Yeah.
No, I have it right here.
Yeah, I didn't think that was.
It says Chris tries to walk off, but is stopped. Jack says the last reading is for him.
Yeah, because it's because doesn't Carmichael? He's like trying to debunk him still,
Yes,
and
he's
then
still trying
Jack's
to
like,
debunk
well,
him, and
no,
then he's like, that last one was true. Yep.
Okay.
Because then he shows his hand to the camera. Because
Yes.
he had his ring on.
And then he throws up and he was taken off.
Yeah.
You're right. That is the order.
And then I think at that point too, the one person we've I think failed to mention up to this point that is constantly in the background is the producer. Well, Gus too, but the producer, which is like Leo, which is all like him and Jack are constantly every time they're at commercial break talking, and their whole thing is about like the whole ratings thing and like and make sure we talk to the sponsors and make sure we talk to the executives that during the break they're sitting in the audience and blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so like so as everything's going on, I think that also is important because Jack is trying to balance everything, right? Like all these realizations, all these things that are occurring on the show, and then he still has this guy on top of him, and then Carr adds on even worse because constantly Carr's also like pushing his buttons, like like you were saying, like that was a really cool, neat effect, and blah blah blah, and this and that, and and that was just kind of interesting that they did that.
Yeah, and this behind the scene cut before Jack goes to talk to Leo or whatever, we get Carr. Going to Jack, and he's like, "Hey, so like, what about that club you're in? Like, can I be a part of it?"
Yeah, and then isn't this also the same commercial break where he goes up to the two ladies and he's like, "Did you do a questionnaire?" Like,
I think that's after. I think it's a couple.
Pulled off.
I think it's a couple after.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But yes, that does happen. You're right, which is pretty important. But we also get a little bit of Phil. Basically saying, "Oh, we can't figure out what's going on with the electrical still."
And again, like they're worried, but not as prevalent on the front end, right? Like a lot of like what the main focus is not like that's just kind of like a side plot that like is only like growing exponentially over time. But I thought that was interesting too that they just keep on throwing it there, not like a hey look up, like it's just kind of like just a thing that just happens. It's just
foreboding.
Foreboding.
You know what I just remembered that we forgot to talk about too? I think it's when Jack gets introduced onto the show. Gus has like a instrument, like that rod.
Oh, the theremin! Woo!
Yeah, theremin, Oh yeah, like the theremin goes crazy at one point.
I think it's...
I mean, it is okay. I was like, that's it. a stock, like Stocko something electrical, like whatever.
But I think. Oh, sorry.
I think the next thing, however, during this break also is when he starts talking to Dr. Lucy, which is the next character, Dr. June, Dr. June, and trying to like, cause she's starting to like, hey,
right.
like she, and so that's obviously the next guest that they had brought up, right? And so she already kind of like, hey, you know, I'm not too sure, like she's not like heavily swung on like, yeah, we're not going out there, but kind of like, I'm having second thoughts, like I'm not sure if we should. Which one other key thing I think we forgot to mention was during the lore dump, when you talked about the whole rise of the satanic, they talked about a very specific one, but didn't go into too much detail about it. They just mentioned that this thing had happened, and so they talked about one of the biggest instances of the satanic rituals was one that was in, I guess, in California or wherever.
And Abraxas one? Is that one?
Well, it was
Diabo.
Yeah, Diabo. And so there was this cult that lived in this house, and they did all this stuff, and they eventually had a big old SWAT standoff for like 2 or 3 days, and then eventually the house just burned down, whatever. But that was like just one of the major ones.
That was in the beginning?
Yeah, well, they just pointed it out. They just pointed out like that was one of the things that had happened, because they talked about like, you know, all this other stuff. Like they just said that was one of the things. Now they're going to go into more detail here in a bit with the other two characters, but that was something they did mention in the lore dump, because when they did mention the rise of it, that was the main one they pointed out, was like this. So coming into that, that's where Dr. Lucy and Dr. Lucy, Dr. June and Lily come in, the next two characters that are introduced.
Yeah. So we get back on the air, right? So again, we get color in the camera. I don't know if this was something that just happened in my theater.
The lights went out.
No. Oh yeah, but
it was already dark.
Did y'all hear sirens? Like right after they come
yes,
on?
Yes.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you thought it was real?
I thought it was real.
I thought it was real too.
It was Christian.
I was like, damn, those are loud. I thought they were actually out. That's crazy.
Bruh. They were real. And I think it's interesting too, though, because this is the same on air where Dr. June finally comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So around this time, everyone is already starting to be panicked or like get creeped out because of everything that happened to Chris too. So like you can see that Jack is kind of starting to believe what's going on. He's kind of like, wait a second, because this is a little weird.
Yeah.
Like they're starting to catch on that there's things happening that nobody planned.
Yeah.
So everyone's starting to get
so just to add on to your point, there's a conversation between Jack and Leo where Leo's saying that people are calling in to the show asking if
Christu is okay.
Yeah, making sure that Christu is okay. And so they're like, this is great for the ratings.
Yeah.
Great. So sirens are heard. We already know that they're coming for Chris, right?
Right. Well, but during the theater, I don't think you did. I think the fact that you asked the question, I think we all thought the same thing. Yeah. And I almost kind of overlooked it.
From the movie.
I thought it was from another movie next door. But maybe it was Migration. I don't know. But no,
that's a good movie. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. So, but yeah, no, I think that was another like one of those key things that we talked about of like little things that get thrown into the movie that just make it good. Like doesn't have to be so in your face, but it's something you don't think about. You kind of heard it, and you probably just like, oh, that's kind of weird.
See, and the funny part about that is if you were a live audience, you wouldn't have assumed the sirens were going to your studio.
Right.
You would just think they were driving around.
Right.
So once again, we were the live audience.
Yeah, and the producer and the producers of the movie did a really good job with that, because they threw it in there but didn't make it a big thing, right? Like easily, I think anybody can like, oh, we gotta film them and like Christu and the like none of that. They just you heard the noise. That's it. And I was like, that's really cool. Now that you mentioned that, I was like, that is a really cool addition. That's just awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
So Jack is starting to introduce the next guest that they're gonna have, and he pulls out a book. That's titled Conversations with the Devil, and that's was written by Dr. June. The cover of the book, I wish I still had it. I don't have.
You have a copy?
No.
You have a copy.
I used to have a copy of the Exorcist. So the book that
it looks similar to that. It does look similar to that.
Yeah, it looks very similar to it.
I did remember catching that.
So if you've ever seen the cover for the book The Exorcist, it's basically like really dark red, and there's a silhouette of like a girl That's kind of what the cover of Conversations with the Devil looks like. And this is where we also see another like camera glitch happening when he's showing the book off.
Creepy.
Ooh, that's creepy.
And so then they go into the even more lore dump about what you were talking about, the
little
cult.
satanic cult.
Yeah, the cult that revolves around Abraxas.
Atraxas.
So this is where we hear like, oh, it was a satanic cult and they practiced human sacrifices, and there's a scene of like a bunch of people themselves with a knife. Can I say that?
Sacrificial.
And they all like go like that with their hands and like high five, yay, we did it.
Oh my god.
Bloodborne pathogens.
It's pretty gross. And I think they even mentioned, like, just as a sidebar, it doesn't really have anything to do, well, maybe it does a little bit with Lily, but they mentioned too that, like, they also sometimes apparently were accused of breeding kids just to have them
Be sacrificed,
Be
right?
sacrificed, yeah. And at the end of this video, it's just like you were saying, they have like a SWAT standoff, and they burn the house down. Everybody inside is dead except for one person.
Lily.
Yeah.
Lily.
Oh, it turns out to be the girl that is with Dr. June, and so that's what the book revolves around. And
So Dr. June, she's like a special type of psychologist, right? Like, I don't remember her exact title, but she basically like dabbles in
Demonology.
yeah, something
paranormal,
like
like
that.
paranormal. Or
That's what she called it, like something, yeah. A paranormalologist.
Yeah, something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like a
but it's just something
paranormalologist.
that as soon as she said it, I know that the Carmichael was like super like already like you could tell
It's like salivating, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got it right. Like, I'm gonna get it. They both come on stage, and when Lily walks in, she walks in after Dr. June. The camera like it glitches when it's on her. You were gonna say something?
Parapsychologist.
Parapsychologist. That's right. They go and they do their whole dog and pony show or whatever, and they sit down in the chairs. And this is like the conversation that they have like takes a huge turn to the left, right? Because right away Lily's like, "Oh, I know what it's like to lose somebody."
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about how great her acting was? Just how creepy she looks. She just like would stare into the
was
camera and just like.
Yeah.
And then like she would even like as soon as they changed the camera, she kind of knew where it was. She would just turn and just like look like. I mean, I know they have lights and signals, but like it was just like super creepy, and I was like, that is
Even
really
Jack
good.
tells her, right, like, you don't have to look at the camera the whole
Yeah,
time.
she's just like, but I like looking at it. It's like kind of like the Chick-fil-A girl like that.
No
Like,
Chick-fil-A sauce?
there's no Chick-fil-A sauce. That's what she looked like the entire time. Like,
Oh my god.
I'm too behind in my memes. But yeah, right away she's like, I know what it's like to lose somebody close to me. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so she's basically talking about Jack's wife, right? And how her entire world got burned down that day. But yeah, and I have in my notes, just like you were saying, Lily stares daggers at the camera.
Yeah.
Like she's just staring it down. And then they go to break. And she's still, I think she's staring at the camera a little bit, right?
After break, yeah.
Is this when her and Jack have dialogue for like
They talk for a little
first-ish
bit.
time?
They talk for a little bit, yeah.
They talk for a little bit.
There's a quote that I put in here, but I don't know if it's now or a different commercial break, when he says like it's time to get pretty again, and Lily tells her like, don't I already look pretty, Jack? And
Yeah, and
it's
her
like,
voice deepens. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
Her voice deepens.
Yeah, he was just kind of like, what? And then he plays it off right, and then nothing. And it's like, okay. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, because before they come on, June tells Jack like she's started to say her name a little differently.
Oh,
Right? That's
yeah.
why
I
she's
didn't
like,
catch
wait.
that.
Yeah, because they're in the hallway and she's like, no, it's different. Like she's starting to say her name like a little differently.
Yeah.
So there's also, in this behind the scenes, there's also like Dr. June is telling him like, hey, like this is not a good idea to continue with the show XYZ, and he's like, hey, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It'll be great, I promise.
Because even Gus too, right?
Oh yeah, Gus is he's been weirded. I think he's been weirded out.
Yeah.
Is this?
No, I don't think yet. I think because this is when they tell Jack that Christu is dead.
Oh yeah.
This is it, and so they're like, Jack is like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, he died on the way to the hospital. Like he's gone.
Oh yeah, because this is when Carmichael was starting to talk to the people in the audience.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, I got this guy all figured out. And he's like, I'm going to tell him something. He's like, well, he's dead. And he's like, oh.
But yeah, so Carmichael goes and talks to the two women that Christu had talked to earlier about their son and brother, and they were like, oh yeah, we talked to this lady before the show happened, and Carmichael was like, what lady? Oh, the one who's doing everybody's makeup, and this is the one that we saw earlier tried to do Christu's makeup, and he was like, don't touch me.
Freaked out.
So she fed him the answer, right? It's basically what that entails.
So Christy's dead.
Yeah, Christy was dead, and Leo breaks the news to Jack, and right away, they're both like, "Well, we can't tell anybody. Like, if we tell anybody, then everyone's gonna freak out, and they're all gonna leave.
Yeah.
We can't do that."
Car's like, I just saved myself $100K.
Much. That's pretty much behind the scenes. We get back onto the air, and the doctor basically explains her background, right? She's like kind of defending herself to Carmichael, because Carmichael's like, oh, you're not a real doctor, XYZ. Like, you're just a fraud. And she's like, well, actually, I think she went to Stanford or something like that.
That's where she studied.
Mm-hmm, which is, a lot higher of an education than I have.
All of us.
But, and then she gives some information about Lily, basically saying that June is convinced that she's not a vessel for Abraxas, the demon, that she's actually has a lesser demon inside of her.
Oh yeah.
Not really sure how relevant that is. I don't know if y'all thought that was like super important or anything. I didn't really. I was like, oh, okay, it's somebody else.
Well, I think it was interesting in the fact that obviously,
Oh, you know what? I think I just connect the dots.
That makes sense. I mean, yes, I think it does make sense in that regard. So the thing that you didn't realize till we had our conversation, you're like, wait, what?
What are you talking about?
What are y'all talking about?
We'll get to it.
The very end. It's the very end.
Something he didn't realize, and it was because he didn't pay attention to the lore dump like this guy.
Okay. So then I'm gonna be like, oh.
No, I did. I just had a little bit of trouble connecting the two circuits.
It's because it wasn't text coming down with the.
It's because I didn't go to Stanford. Then we have a little bit of a conversation with Lily, and Lily reveals that she calls the demon Mr. Wiggles.
Yeah.
Because he wiggles her way in her mind, and I was like, oh, that made me feel uncomfortable. Like hearing
again, right? There's another CB.
Like hearing a 13-year-old girl say that just made me feel like
icky.
Yeah, I was like, bleh. This is where right after this whole conversation, this is where that instrument, that metal
the theremin,
it like goes all haywire. So the way the theremin works is that like
you don't touch it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works out.
So basically, from what I understand, there's it's a rod, and inside of the rod there's two metal plates, and there's an electrical current or a magnetic field, one of the two, or I guess they kind of cause each other. Yeah. So like the closer you get to the thing, the like weirder the noise it is. So you can like woo 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 with it. Well, it starts going crazy, right?
Yeah,
there's nobody next to it. Like there's no one within like 10 feet of it, right?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out what's going on with it. And I think like I thought it was funny that Jack is telling Gus to unplug it, and Gus is like, "Well, it's not plugged in. Like I don't know what's going on." But that's how Gus turns it off.
No, it's not Gus. Carmichael over there.
And unplugs it. I just thought it was funny. So while this instrument is like freaking out, we get like different clips. I don't know if y'all caught this, but there's like the table that, well, I guess we should have mentioned this earlier, before they go on the break, after the doctor and after June and Lily are there, they bring out all the artifacts. Right,
the dagger.
They have a dagger, they have like some coins, I think. Yeah. And then one of the things that I really wanted to point out is that they have like a black orb, kind of like a crystal ball. I don't know if y'all caught this, But when the machine is like freaking out, they like pan to Jack and them sitting at the chairs. There's a face in the orb.
I think I kind of glimpsed it, but I didn't click for me there.
Yeah, there's a face in the orb,
Oh.
and I was like, oh shoot! So this for me is when the movie like took off, and I was like, all right, I'm in it. Like
Dang,
I'm
I wish
with
I
you.
saw that.
I wish I saw it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to rewatch it.
You gotta get your subscription for sure.
I do have to rewatch it because, well, I'll get to it when we talk about the stuff breaking on the table.
So after they finally unplug it, Lily says that the demon was the one that made everything freak out, and they're like, sure, kid, whatever. Jack basically, this is where he's like, all right, like you're gonna go summon the demon, right? Like you're gonna go have this freaking exorcism, like right away.
Well, no, it's because Carr pushes the buttons a little bit more, and then it kind of corners the doctor because she's getting pissed.
She's like, she's like, I talked to him.
Yeah, and then that's when the girl's like, well, we could just do it, and then they're like, oh, why you want to do that? And the doctor's like, no, and then that's when they cut to commercial break because she like berates him about like, why would you like? I told you this was not the case. Like this was your plan all along. And he's like, no, like just like she wants to do it. I think. Are you ready? And the girl's like, yeah, I would love to do it. It's creepy face still. So like that's really what pushes them into that because I remember. Again, she was just getting grilled and Dr. June was just getting really upset.
Oh, because she tells June during the break, like, we'll give them a chance to prove that their stuff's not, like, phony.
Right, and it was like $100,000.
I think at this point he increases it
it's
to
like
$500,000.
$500,000,
Yeah.
And then that's when they set up the whole stage.
They had set up the whole stage. This is also where Jack gets pulled aside by Gus. And
he's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
He's not comfortable at all.
Yeah, and Gus is like, hey, like, I know Chris is dead, or Chris Stew is dead. Like, a bunch of us are, like, ready to dip. And Jack's like, no, it'll be great. I promise, it'll be great. And he just...
Poor Gus. He didn't
I really like
Gus.
Gus.
Yeah.
I really liked Gus.
She was left.
He really should have. We're back on air, and the doctor is very insistent about how whenever she has these conversations with Lily, it's a very controlled environment, right? Like it's dark, there's nobody else but the two of them, and like I guess they're recording, right? Some kind of tape recorder.
And there has to be a fog machine.
And there has to be a fog machine. It wouldn't be an exorcism without a fog machine.
Yeah, have the fog machine.
So like they start essentially like hypnosis, I think, is how she gets
gets her down.
Gets her
Yeah,
down.
because she's telling the audience like, don't make any noises.
Yeah, and while this is going on, like there are moments where the audience is like gasping and all these kind of things, and then she's like, "Shut up!"
Yeah.
Like, stop!
Well, because
stop
she
it.
said her focus has to stay on her, because if not, she could lose her, and like it can be hard. She might not be able to like re-get her back.
Yeah.
She does her thing, and at first it seems like maybe it might not work, but then she does put like her head down, and that's where I think good practical effects here. Like she puts the head down, the hair is down, and then she pops up, and then you see like the kind of like
it's
completely
like the exorcist.
Yeah, but it's like the way they did it though too was like the structure of her face changed. Like it wasn't not the same structure.
Yeah, like, I think like the bottom of her jaw like pops out a little bit more.
Completely different.
And her eyes change.
Because her eyebrows
and she has the big old gashes.
Lip.
Yeah, gashes. She has gashes in her face and her lip. And then and then they continue, but just we can come back to that after. But continue. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So basically, Lily's voice, like when she talks,
it mixes in multiple voices. Her voice kind of
voice doubler.
Yeah,
vocal doubler.
Yeah, and it has the other voice with it, like kind of the lower voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's all demony.
They're
but I thought it was interesting that when the demon like comes out, like the demon's like confused.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Like it's like, where are we? Right?
What the hell?
Yeah. It's like where are we? What's going on?
Who are you people? No, it's Patrick, right? When they're under the rock. Who are you people?
No, it's the crust of crab. But she basically like turns to talk to Jack, right?
Mm-hmm. And she said, "I remember," or "Don't you remember me?" Or like, "Don't
we
you?"
met in the trees.
We met in the trees, and that's where that was the thing that he's like, I don't know what that was about. I'm like, that was a whole lore dump for like 7 minutes. Like that was it.
And so they kind of like have a little bit of a back and forth, and I think the doctor's trying to like get June's attention, or sorry, Lily's attention, and Lily's demon inside of her keeps like saying, "Hey Doc, I know you like Jack."
Oh yeah.
Hey Doc, I know you like Jack. Like
she's just exposing him.
for real, and June smacks the crap out of her.
Yeah.
And I'm like on live television.
This is the 70s.
Yeah.
the 70s.
A little bit different.
Because has Lily said the thing about Madeline yet?
No. They don't bring that up in that regard yet.
Segment.
Yeah, because all she knows is just constantly berating Jack and then June. Like so, then she slaps her and then brings her back. Right, she pulls out the cross, not a cross. She pulls out some type of totem. It's like a totem, a trinket, and she just like does whatever. I forget the word she uses, but she's
it's like Latin, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, well, no, it's like come back to me. You're back to me. Your way, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think. Then before that ends again, things are going crazy, freaking out, and then that's when like the lights like almost like explode, right? There's like an explosion. And so
and the chair levitates. The chair that Lily's in, it like goes up.
Yeah.
This is when she says the stuff about Madeline, right?
No, I don't think she brings that up. All she brings up is we met in the trees. Oh, I remember what you're saying. Yes. She mentions like
tell them what you did, Jack.
Tell them what you did, Jack. Yeah.
Yes.
That's this part.
Yes.
Okay, because when the chair's floating, and then she basically like mocking that Dr. June tried to like bring her back.
Yeah.
I think so. Something like that.
But she does. She eventually does bring her back.
Yeah. So
big explosion,
chair levitates, and then it comes back to the ground, and then I think that's like when the chair's
she's
back.
Normal face.
Yeah.
Which that's what I was saying, like she had gashes, big old face structure change, and then when she's back, no cuts, no gashes.
Yeah.
Like
I think she still
face.
has one on her lip.
Maybe a little one, but like everything else was back to normal, which was interesting.
Like her bone structure's back to normal.
But like the gashes in her head were
I wonder if like it's like like the face gets bigger, so like the face stretches and maybe like
just like pressure.
Yeah, it's like it's like pulls it.
I do know what you're talking about though, like
in Exorcist movies.
In Exorcist movies, because that same thing happens in the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah, they always have like those those crusty looking faces,
Mm-hmm.
So
crusty looking faces.
I think it's just to be scary.
Yeah, I guess right. Just be like, it's demon. It's a demon. Look at the face.
Put some moisturizer.
Yeah, for real. They're like, oh, look at the normal now.
A little bit chapped. But right away, your boy Carr, he has no chill, right? He's like, I know what you did. That was a good trick. XYZ happened. And everyone's like, bro, calm down. Like, we need to figure out.
This was when everything on the table shattered, right?
Yeah.
When the chair was levitating because there was like fire and shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, the reason I was bringing that up is because apparently there was like several Easter eggs up until this point where Madeline's apparition does show up in the background.
What?
So like when the glass breaks, I think she shows up then. I don't know if this is when they rewind the TV and then they catch
They
it.
already did.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
so
gonna come back to that.
Yes,
But then there was a couple times that
right.
they didn't like rewind to where Madeline does show up in the back. So I don't know if she's in the orb, but like that's why I'm like I need to go back and watch it because
I completely forgot to write that down. You're right. When Lily is talking to Jack, right? She during this little segment, her face is pointed away from the camera, so we see the back of her head, and we see a face in her hair.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
interesting. It's kind of like Voldemort style.
Like, and later on, we'll get into it, but when they rewind, we see the face again, but when they actually freeze on the frame, we see something else.
Yeah, it's Madeline standing behind Jack.
Yeah.
Her arms like on the chair.
Yeah.
You're talking about the one where like everybody sees it?
No, yeah,
we'll get into it later, but yeah. So, of course, after all that excitement, they go to behind the scenes. Hey, commercial break. Where Jack basically talks to Dr. June, and he's like, "This is amazing. We can make this a weekly thing." And she's like, "Are you freaking kidding me, dude?" Like,
I hate you.
After Lily just exposed him about the wife.
Yeah.
We should do this again.
This is also when June is basically like, "Hey, like, what the heck is? What is Lily talking about?" Right?
Yeah.
So she's basically like, why what did the demon mean when he said we met in the trees?
Yeah, she's trying to figure that out. And this also good to note that this is where the actual producer flips his script. Instead of like, oh, we need to talk to the producer, sponsor, he said, forget them. Like, this is it. Like, this is money. We got people calling up. Like, this is higher ratings. Like, we don't need them. Like, this is it. So I think this is where he also gets his performance high of like, he's untouchable, right? He's good. Like, everything they do after this point is just money. And so I thought that was important too, because that's where it definitely starts really going off the rails, is when even the producer's like, yeah, we can't do anything wrong now at this point. Like, we got it in the bag. Like, so that's why he wants to push and continue. So then he gets his chance, right? This is where they come back from commercial and homie gets his chance to debunk everything, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I loved this part. I really liked it. So just like you're saying, Carmichael is like, hey, you're a fraud. And the doctor's like, excuse you. And they kind of go back and forth. And Jack actually gets upset too, right? And he's like, hey, Carr, like, calm the heck down. Like, what the heck's wrong with you?
This is real!
This is real! He meant the trees!
Because I think he's catching on.
Yeah,
He's
and
like,
Gus also is like really wanting to dip out after that.
Yeah.
We're about to leave, and then I think they somehow rope him in one more time to do
Well, they don't rope. So Carmichael's I can do this myself, and I can prove it to you that I can do it. And he's like, come on, Gus. And he's like, what?
Gus like, oh no.
He's like, oh man.
They got this point. I don't even know if the band's still there. Like,
It's
literally just Gus.
It's the one guy with the saxophone, and everybody else is gone.
Everyone else did. So basically, Carmichael at this point is like has a mission to recreate what June and Lily did, but with Gus, right? And Gus at this point, as far as we know, isn't possessed, has nothing like that. Like, he's just this normal dude that, is a really likable character. And I thought that this was really interesting when he basically voluntold Gus. He says, and no, it's no worry. It's not like I'm going to make your head spin. Yeah. And so this is two references. The first one is that it's I caught it as a reference to, or I thought, sorry, as a reference to The Exorcist.
Where her head spins?
Where her head spins, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Which I think also came out in sometime close to when this would have aired. Yeah. And the second thing is that it's foreshadowing for later on. And so Carmichael and Gus basically
set up the chairs.
Yeah, they set up the chairs. The fog machine. I think Carmichael requested specifically, right? Yeah. Requests the fog machine, and he starts the process of hypnotizing not only Gus but the entire audience. Yeah. Right. Like, he gets it's the classic thing that we all have seen in the cartoons and the movies.
Sleepy.
Yeah, exactly. With the clock, with the just going back and forth. Yeah. And I think he snaps his finger or something like that, and then it turns into the black and white spiral. Ooh.
That was cool. I want
one. But this is where they have a little bit of a conversation, right? Where Carmichael's like, "Oh, how are you feeling?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm feeling good. Like, everything's all cool, whatever." And he's like, "What about your fear of worms?" And then Gus is like, "What the heck? Like, how'd you know about that?" And he goes, whatever. Like, I think you mentioned it or something like that. And then Carmichael points out some kind of nick.
He's like, that mark in his neck. He's like, I cut myself shaving.
Yeah, he's like, I cut myself shaving, and it gets a little bit bigger, and then Gus goes to feel it, and then worms. Yeah. He gets a fistful of worms.
He's like, there's worms in you.
Yeah, and he's like, oh.
And then he's like this, right?
He starts getting hot, and he takes off his shirt. And I love this part. This guy, he reaches in his stomach and rips his stomach out, and all these worms start everyone's freaking out.
That's so stupid.
And even Carr's like, whoa, what the heck is going on?
You play this part.
Yeah.
He's like, no!
And he jumps out of his chair, right? And walks 10 feet away. And Gus is like, help me. And he gets on the chair, and he gets on the chair, and he's looking at Carr, and he's reaching out, and this freaking worm, his eyeball blows up, and this worm comes out, this giant worm comes out of his eye. It was so good. That was the money went. That's where the budget went. Exactly, into this one worm scene. Dude ain't got nothing on it, dude. It was
Dude,
great.
it got nothing.
Oh man, it was so good. And then I think like Carmichael's like snaps his finger or something, and it's like, oh,
He's all like, he's all shirtless, right? He's all.
He's like in the middle of it all
Yeah.
confused. He's like, what's going on?
yeah.
He's like, how'd that happen?
That's so
Oh
funny.
my god.
But yeah, it was pretty good. I loved it.
So stupid.
And then this is where Carmichael's like, it was all a dream. Oh, and I got everybody. And the audience is like, what? That wasn't real? And it's like, yeah.
Everyone's like freaked out.
Yeah,
I think
everybody-
because in the hypnosis scene, I think people start running out because they're like, right?
Oh,
Really?
well,
I
yeah,
don't know.
they freak out because they think that that's legitimate and real. But then when he snaps, key point that you're about to get to is that he explains like, okay, pretty much I got almost everybody probably,
except
and
a
then-
couple people.
except a couple people because they asked like, who saw what we saw? Who saw worms? Who saw this? Okay,
Didn't see.
Yeah, it was like
we did-
2 people, right?
Yeah, like 2 or 3 people, and so then they go back to the footage and let's look at the
And
footage.
and they roll back the tape, and
Yeah.
you just see Gus like
Freaking out.
Yeah.
No shirt, right?
no shirt.
Right.
It's pretty funny. It looks like the Little Mermaid on the chair.
Yeah.
And that's when, and that's when he's like, oh yeah, so I debunked you, got you, see, that's how they fooled you. And then Lily's like, well, if the tape doesn't lie, then why don't you rewind it to us?
Mhm.
And everybody's like, yeah, why don't you? Like, and everybody, I think even Dr. Drew Rise again, like, well, I mean, I guess, like, what's gonna happen? What's the worst that could happen?
You see, sorry, I'll let you continue. But I thought that this was like gonna be. So it went in a different direction that I thought it was going to go in. I'll say the direction that I thought it was going to go in so we can get into the direction that it actually went into. I thought what was going to happen was that they were going to replay it and Lily would actually like be real possessed at this point and nobody would be able to stop it because like they resummoned the demon.
What do you mean?
Basically like they would, like watching it back would trigger Lily to redo all of the snap into that moment. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that though, because when he was doing the hypnosis on Gus, I thought it was gonna get Lily without it. Like I thought unintentionally it was gonna hit.
Like make
Lily.
the thing come out.
Yeah, so I thought she was gonna go crazy in the background, but then it was just the whole worm scene, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So just like you're saying, they roll back the tape, and it's again the perspective of I believe it's the perspective of the way we saw it from originally, right? Like the back of Lily's head and Jack in the chair, and they go a little too quick, and I think when they go too quick, they overshoot it. And
Well, it shows the explosion too, and that's where because they see something, he's like, wait, no, go back.
Yeah, you're right. And I think when they see something, that's when we see the face behind.
Yeah,
Lily
keep on
again.
seeing that a couple times, the face,
Uh-huh.
and then they keep on slow down more,
And they go frame by frame.
and then right when the explosion just about to happen is when you see basically his wife because she's in hospital gown, bald, kind of like on behind him holding the chair. I thought it was holding his shoulder, like basically like touching him, and so. That really freaked him out. I think that's where, he kind of, then like everybody was like, what? And then that's when your boy goes even more off Carmichael, right? He's like, you're sick. Like, how could you, like, you, like, did this.
Oh, he's like, you knew this the whole time.
Yeah,
you were involved.
You're involved. And he's just like, no, I'm not. And I think, I forget exactly how it all rolls out up until the actual true ending scenes, but like, remind me how it transitions.
We're in the ending.
Right.
Yeah, I thought the footage rewinding does trigger Lily.
Is that what happened?
Doesn't she become a hologram? Like she takes the signal.
Well, no, he's arguing. Carmichael argues with him because he's like, how could you, blah 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 this and that.
He's like, I didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't remember what triggers it actually.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Oh, that's just what happened. She just literally like.
So she basically turns.
It does trigger her. Then
she turns into Electro, basically.
I thought it would be more like
the actual video itself.
Yeah, I thought it would be more like Evil Dead. Like Evil Dead kind of trigger.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
Be this. I really like this a whole lot more.
So she's going crazy. Obviously, she's doing her thing.
Turns into Electro.
Well, no, before she turns out so she then she just goes out. So like she spins homie's neck. So Gus is the first one I think that
Yeah.
goes. So spins Gus's neck
She
all the way
starts doing
around.
something though. I think what happened.
Well, she
She's
like
like this,
reaches
right?
like that.
Yeah.
And like her.
Is that when her head starts splitting already?
Yeah, well, I thought she-
yeah.
Yeah, she-
Because
well,
Gus goes, he
actually,
pulls out his
yeah.
cross, right? He's like,
Yeah.
the power of Christ compels you.
No, but
Yeah.
even Carr tries, right? Because
Carr's the last one.
Carr
Carr's
does
the last
something
one.
else.
He
Carr
goes,
is
he gives
one
the,
of the last
he gives the
ones.
check. He's like, the me with the money.
But so basically what happens is that they so Lily starts freaking out and she becomes Electro. So I think she's oriented like this, where one of her hands is like pointing at the wires up, and the other hand is pointing at the ground, and it's like completing the circuit, right? From like where her body's completing the circuit, and we see her head split open, and it's like electricity, like red electricity, like in her freaking head. But yeah, Gus comes out. He's like, "The power of Christ compels you," and she
Just
like
neck falls through the center. The Dr. June has the necklace, and she tries to do the pendant thing again. Doesn't work. She chokes her out, pulls her up.
and her like neck.
Yeah,
Oh,
slices her with the necklace.
This is when everyone starts
And then,
running.
and
everybody's freaking out.
And she tosses Jack away, and everybody's freaking out. But Carmichael immediately is like bowing down, like, "You are my god now. Like, I will do anything for you."
And then he basically just like burns him.
Yeah, lights him on fire.
Yeah, from like the inside.
Yeah, and so I thought. So what was interesting, I know this is where some people maybe it was cheesy effects, whatever. I thought, but here's what I thought. When we're seeing this occur, this is still on the camera footage. So I thought it was interesting because I think some of the things that look cheesy were like the 70s cameras not being able to process all the big colors and things that I know. That's what I thought. Like I'm like, you couldn't
it
even
makes sense because we're
you
seeing
couldn't even
the
fully
tape.
like she's electricity at this point. Like how do you even see that on even our normal day camera, let alone like cameras from the 70s? So I thought while it looked a little cheesy, I actually liked it because I thought it was the cameras not being able to handle processing all that. Because it's the same with Carr when he was burning it from
It
the
looks
inside
like a
out. It didn't
VHS.
look very good. But I thought it was because again the cameras just couldn't process all those colors. Like
So this brings up a very important point that I agree with him, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So this brings up a really important point because just like Amanda said, the entire time in the movie, right, we see the camera in like a certain aspect ratio, and it's very much like the way we would see it in the 70s.
Yeah.
But after all of this happens, the camera aspect changes, like the
fever
ratio
dream.
changes.
yeah.
Because when she throws him back, he's able to get through the door, right? That he initially comes
Oh,
out.
yeah, he goes
I
through the
think
door,
so.
right?
Because this is when it all happens. Because I have the note that
A
says,
fever dream.
yeah, because I was like, wait, they all died, bruh. And then I put,
They all died,
and then I put, wait, he's back, question mark, they're not dead, question mark. And then I put, who edited this if everyone ran away?
Who edited this?
And then we get to this ending point, and again, this is where I've seen people online like have different opinions. It's like, oh, everything was good up until the ending. I'm like, okay, y'all said the same thing about Cobweb, and I thought the ending was fine. Like I go, it could have been better, but I thought it was fine. But here is where, like you're saying, Fever Dream was like the best way to summarize it. We're unsure of like as an audience, like, so what is this real? Like what's happening? And it's just him basically like on the show again, and things are happening, right? Like,
and it's the same scenes that we
Like his
saw
head-
in the
in the
opening.
Lord did.
Yeah,
Lord
in
did,
the Lord
yeah.
of. It's the same scenes
yeah,
that we were shown.
Gus is giving him some zingers, and he's just kind of like, what?
He's like, what's going on?
Yeah, and so
but what I thought was really cool about, I just loved this whole movie. But like what I thought was really cool about this part was that when he's thrown back into those old episodes, the people that are on set with him are reacting to how he is currently. They're not not like continuing like if he's the only one out of place. Like they're asking like, what are you doing?
yeah, like what's wrong?
Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and we also get like, I think that they did a really good job at this point where like the audience is laughing, but it seems more that they're laughing at him
Yeah.
instead of the jokes.
Yeah, and then he's just like he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah,
It
he's
just
kinda-
it was
He's
so
uneasy.
very well.
That was cool, yeah.
And then it just kind of, after it does the hits and him just freaking out, it finally culminates I think they show the people, right? Like they have basically the
they set up kind of like a forest
in the cold. And they tell him like, okay, you need to drink this or do this. Are you ready? Are you prepared to do whatever? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Right, that's the thing. And then that's when I think the last scene is just.
He's given the award before that, right?
So,
like
I think, yeah. So, like, at the end of all of these clips, he, like, signs his life away, basically, right? With the producer, with the, whoever's the highest up. Yeah. And then that's, I think, when he drinks from the goblet.
Symbolic.
Yeah, they come into
soul.
And behind him, this entire time, we see an owl.
The owl.
That stupid-ass noise.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where you should have paid attention from the beginning, the Lord Dog.
I did see an owl in the beginning.
That's the same one.
Yeah, I was. I noticed that.
Okay. Yeah.
And the costume, right? The Owlman costume.
The Owlman costume.
Yeah.
And so, like, after he's done drinking it, he turns around and is, like, face to face with this freaking mascot thing.
Which I thought was interesting in that whole
that was corny.
forest scene, how they had, like, the other club members in line, like, parading behind him, but then they also had the skeleton guy from the audience.
See?
And other people in the costumes, like, also lined up behind him.
Right. And so, and then it leads to finally I would say the final scene, but the final part of the fever dream, which is his wife in the bed. Obviously, you can tell she's on the last stages of being sick. And, basically, they're talking, they're discussing their stuff, and...
Did he sell his wife's soul to the devil?
Yes.
He did, right?
He sacrificed
that's the conversation that we had.
He pulled a Kanye West.
Wait, I have a quote that... is this Diablo that tells him? It's
He's
Jack's,
the one who gives him the goblet.
Because somebody says Jack's greatest sacrifice is yet to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did, right?
Yeah, so that's what I said.
That's the conversation that we had.
Yeah, and so he had said, like, I didn't understand, and it was like, well, because the trees, right? Like, they all immediately at the beginning were like, seems like a cult, these... group that he's in, right? Because nobody knows about them. Very secretive. They have their own secret meetings in the woods, and again, of course, that's one of the things you're gonna think of, right? Like rituals in the woods, usually something not probably you want to be involved with. And so, I think the whole movie revolved around like he sold his wife's soul basically to be famous, and then. I think that's when, she brings him in closer, whatever. He has the dagger, right? Is it the dagger from the ritual? And basically they lean in. He basically puts it into her.
Which is crazy, right? We don't even know what's going on. He's his wife.
So I think, but essentially, like finishing the deed, right? Like, okay, I have to do this. This is my sacrifice.
Right? She's like, you gotta do it.
Yeah, like it wasn't. He says like it wasn't supposed to be like this. Like when he has it.
And so he ends up, putting the knife into
Lily,
the area, and then that's when, and I kind of saw it as soon as they were doing it. I'm like, I know where this is going, and sure enough, they pull and then he actually kind of, I guess, awakens from it and realizes that it's in Lily. And so he had Lily on the stage with it. And I think that right there is almost even more interesting to the biggest sacrifice, because he did all that. And the true ending is, again, like you never win, right? When you make a deal with the devil. So he got his moment, but it's not going to last very long, because now he's going to be infamous, because to anybody that watches that episode, or just to people that come in, cops, whatever, his hand, knife, in a person. So
on tape.
So technically his deal did work, because he is...
It did work.
It did work, but then he not for what he wanted.
Well, and I think because then the episode probably doesn't air. All he's known for is just killing.
I said it too. I guess I'll just bleep it. Do I bleep it?
Yeah, for
unaliving
a person on his show. So
that's basically where it ends. It's where the movie ends.
Yeah.
I was wondering then, did Lily actually unalive everybody else, or was it him the entire time we were in this fever dream?
No, I think
her.
I think it was
the original. Original deaths.
I think they were all.
No, it had to be, because their bodies were
in
There.
the same spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, they were destroyed the way that
Same
she
way.
portrayed. Unless he physically went.
No,
I
I
don't know,
think
found a way to burn Carmichael.
in my opinion, I think it was everything happened the way that he saw it up until the fever dream. When he got out, I think he kind of went into like a psychosis for a bit and flashbacked into everything, and then it happened, right? Because again, you know, similar to when she describes how Mr. Wiggles creeps in the brain, it's like I'm there and I'm doing stuff, but it's not really me. So more or less,
Mr.
he experienced all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden he wakes back up and like, wait, what happened? And realize that he did, you know, the last deed.
Yeah, so Jordan and I, which for the audience, Jordan's my husband, we were researching it on like Reddit and stuff to read about what people were thinking. And apparently him unaliving Lily was setting that demon free to then do it to another person, allegedly.
Right.
But that, yeah, so that's kind of how like it came full circle, because he was freeing Mr. Wiggles, whoever that was.
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would make sense if it was the demon from the Wood
Woods.
cult.
My confusion with the ending, I didn't get the connection that the demon from the cult in the forest was the one inside of Lily.
That's what I figured as it got towards the end. I was like, this makes sense, because when he said, that was the phrase I told you was the don't like, you know, when don't you remember me, like from the woods, and I was like, and then when I told you that in the car, you were like, wait, that all makes sense now, because he was about to like bash the movie, like, didn't make any sense, what are they doing? And it's like,
wasn't good on
as it-
bash.
you're like that one connection was like, oh wait, now it's a good movie. I was like, yes, that's
It was a good movie even without me making that connection.
pretty
After
good.
I made that connection, it was
It
a
was good,
great
right?
movie.
Yeah,
It was a very good movie.
That's what I'm saying. I really liked it. Like the parts that I thought weren't done well, it was an indie movie. So like
I give it an
you
8.
can't.
I give it an 8.
Oh,
I change
you
it.
can't
I
dock
change it.
them.
I give it an 8.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
I really liked it. I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought the ending, the fever dream, was like trippy. I was like, wait, because
Yeah.
that is the whole like. Obviously, the episode didn't air. Well, I guess it did. It's live TV.
No, it didn't.
Well,
Well,
it's
it was-
pre-recorded live TV, isn't it?
No,
No,
it's
it's
live
live.
TV because they're getting calls about Chris.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then
it was
in
like
my head,
TV. It was like TV.
I was wondering, like, when did the audience stop seeing what was happening?
Yes,
That's what I want to know.
that's what I want to know.
well, they would have. I think they did at one point before the fever dream. I think it does another break. It does. I think.
Oh, you're
yeah.
right,
It
because
does,
because
dude,
it
that's why-
melts.
Yeah, it
That-
melts.
That's why I was like, who edited this if everyone ran off? Like, who put the
Yeah.
commercial
The
break
demon.
in if
The
nobody
demon
was
did.
there?
Yeah.
The demon's like in the back.
There's just one guy still there, right, trying to get all the overtime.
Poor Phil. Like,
They're gonna get these ratings out. Oh, his face is all melting off. But
yeah, no, I thought that the movie was just really well done, and again, like. I know it was an indie movie, and people were like very. The thing that people complained about the most was
The
the
effects.
ending and the effects. But I'm like, you brought up a good point. It's like they paid the guy that played Jack, because he's a fantastic actor, probably most of the money for this movie. I thought it was good. I mean, again, I think this is one of those where, and again, it comes back to me and my hate for some things, A24. But like, but like, you can get your point across with subplots, and you don't have to overdo it and shove it in your face. Like, I thought everything from, like, again, the sirens that, again, up until now, I think we all just kind of heard, and you were the only one that really brought it up, and I was like, wait, you know what? I remember thinking that in the movie, like, small little subplot there. The subplots with all the lighting and stuff, just, it's there, but it's not constantly just shoved in your face the whole time. And I thought that was good. I don't think you need a movie that has to have this giant budget with giant effects with all that to get your point across. And the story was really well done. Yes, the ending can be a little convoluted and confusing, but again, it was chaotic. All the acting and stuff up to that point was really good, and I think it ties it still together if you connect all the pieces. I think that's important too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and again, I think people sometimes will like bash on indie movies because this doesn't have sometimes the mainstream like storyline. Like, it doesn't always have like, it's not perfect.
Like mainstream.
Well, man, at this point for horror fans, there's a lot of people that
Pretty
think
much.
that is now. Like, they think that is the standard.
Like I feel like A24 became like how indie music used to be.
Oh,
How
yeah,
it like
yeah, yeah.
was like actually indie music, but
Yeah.
eventually made its way to mainstream.
Yeah, I see what you
Like
mean. now.
A24 was like
yeah.
that.
And this movie was a Shutterbox movie, like, right? This is a Shutter
Yeah.
movie. Like, this, I think that in itself, I think kind of plays into it too, that like kind of a low
Yeah.
or lower
They have
budget
that-
movie.
They got that thing.
They got it going for them, but it's still
Yeah.
well done. Like for a
It was
lower
good.
budget movie, I thought it was really
It
well
was
done.
good.
Like it was not a B movie. It was still a really good. I think it holds
It's like a
itself
B+.
to all the movies that have come out so far this year in terms of horror. Like it easily holds its ground.
Yeah.
Easily.
So,
Closing thoughts?
yeah, closing thoughts. We just heard yours. Closing thoughts?
It was good.
All right, cool.
Your rating went up. So
Yeah, I
that's
really went up.
good.
It went up. Yeah, it went up.
Amanda?
I don't really have anything else to say. I just thought it was really good. I really liked it. I do think it has rewatch value for me. It's something I would recommend
Mhm.
because I feel like it's one of those movies where every time you watch it, you're probably going to see something you didn't originally catch.
That's fair. Yeah. So I think at the time when this episode comes out, it will be streaming on Shudder. I believe it starts streaming on Shudder on the 19th.
So not quite. This will
No,
come
that's
out a little
not
too
first, yeah.
early.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So it'll be
Watch it when it comes out.
Yeah, watch
okay,
it when it
so
comes
closing thoughts for me. I
Yeah,
thought it was a
probably
really
the
good
best one
movie.
So far, then.
So far, it's my favorite movie of 2024. So far, I think we're all in agreement that as far as the horror movies in 2024 goes, that Late Night with the Devil has earned
Jabba.
the
Jabba status.
with the Jabba status. We do not have an official trophy yet, but as of right now, Late Night with the Devil currently holds it. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe if you made it this far in the video. Join us next time. We're going to have a horror roundtable discussion. We're going to talk about different questions that y'all have submitted on TikTok. So go ahead. You can find us there. We're the same handle, 4 Dead Losers. Leave them in the comments below. We'll get to them, as many as we can. But yeah, we'll hope to see you then.